COVID-19 chaos in the nation's largest cities this Christmas Day as the Omicron variant spreads at a record rate. And backpackers moved into quarantine as the Perth cluster grows. The world celebrates a second pandemic Christmas at a distance. And a shock change for Australia on the eve of the Boxing Day test. Hello and welcome to ABC News on this Christmas Day, coming to you from the lands of the Gadigal people. I'm Dan Borsha. It's truly a bittersweet Christmas in Australia. For the second year in a row, COVID-19 has forced another day of compromise and chaos. While many flocked to the sunshine and celebrated with newly reunited friends and family, tens of thousands spent today in isolation, reaching out virtually to loved ones.
It wasn't quite the Christmas we wanted, but it's the one we got. As cases across the country soar, for many, the joy of the morning was replaced by the stress of a testing line.
Merry Christmas.
Nairi Walls is making do with ISO festivities. Her partner has COVID, she's a close contact.
We're just doing a nice Christmas lunch over FaceTime. He's in the guest room next door.
With so many separated, family reunions are a gift not to take for granted.
My heart was pumping. It's been so difficult to get here.
You're all together, yeah. Just to see everyone, that's all you want for Christmas.
Merry Christmas, nurses.
A COVID-safe Santa Claus still stopped by to see sick kids. About 100 children will spend the day in Melbourne's Royal Children's Hospital.
She's had a tough one, but now that we're at the end of the year, Christmas and family, I think the start of the new year is going to be a great one for her.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
The advice across Australia this Christmas was to celebrate outdoors. Great news for our furry pals. As Queensland's COVID tally climbs, families and friends are making the most of it. In Sydney, services for the disadvantaged put on spreads in the sunshine.
Here we are, beautiful blue skies, wonderful day and a great day filled with joy.
All right, Merry Christmas, brothers.
We've covered the road in AstroTurf, as you can see behind me, laid out some picnic blankets and we're sharing meals together because no matter what happens to our freedoms, they'll never take away our picnics.
Charities were in overdrive, defying the challenges to spread Christmas cheer.
Just to see people from all walks of life turning up and volunteering is just incredible and it's really heartwarming.
It's really beautiful and very generous. Merry Christmas!
For the young ones, of course, today's still about the prezzies.
Lego City, Lego Technic, Lego Speed Champions, Lego Iconic Tech, that's the fastest car in the world.
What are you going to do for the rest of Christmas?
Probably just do all my Lego.
I might need a little bit of a break over the next couple of months.
Wise words from the big man. Tim Swanston, ABC News, Sydney.
Perth's cluster, triggered by a backpacker, has grown by another 2 cases, prompting questions over the future of the state's hard border. For more, I'm joined by Lucy Martin in Perth. Lucy, what's the latest on the COVID situation in WA?
Well, as you mentioned, there have been 2 new local cases confirmed, both of those linked to the French backpacker who entered WA from Queensland earlier this month. So there are now 7 active cases linked to that outbreak. And of course, viewers in the eastern states may well consider 7 cases to be relatively minor. And of course, the situation here in WA is vastly different to what we have just seen and what is unfolding in the eastern states. But those 7 cases are being taken very seriously here because WA has been living essentially in a COVID-free bubble, which has been popped by this latest outbreak. 8,000 people tested yesterday, many people in isolation over the Christmas period, masks now mandatory in Perth and some large events cancelled. But for the most part, Christmas lunches and dinners have gone ahead as planned in WA, with the caveat though that there are many empty seats at some of those tables. WA now has a hard border with every other state and territory, so of course for many families in WA, they are separated from their loved ones this year.
Lucy, the state is also recording searing temperatures.
Yes, that's right. It was an absolute scorcher in Perth today. A top so far of 42.8 degrees in Perth. Tomorrow it's expected to potentially reach 44 degrees. And certainly people have been packing the beaches of Perth in an attempt to get cool. And the Archbishop of Perth even referenced the heat in his Christmas message today, saying that after a tumultuous and challenging year filled with tension and sometimes violence, it was vital for not only West Australians but also Australians to show kindness. And he acknowledged that's easier said than done when the temperature's 42 degrees and tensions are high. But I think regardless of whether you're religious or not, and regardless of whether it's 42 or 22 where you are, that message of showing kindness and empathy after a very challenging year will resonate with all Australians.
Lucy Martin in Perth. Thousands of masked worshippers have flocked to Christmas church services around the country despite concerns about surging cases. While some services had to be moved online at the 11th hour, many parishioners celebrated the chance to be together ahead of another uncertain year. Here's Brad Ryan.
In churches across Australia, songs of hope and prayers for better times ahead, as midnight mass congregations reflect on a dark year.
Partial lockdowns, snap lockdowns, extended lockdowns with curfews, visitor caps to the office, visitor caps at home.
With that long list of reasons to avoid gathering indoors, Sydney's St Mary's Cathedral brightened the night for worshippers outside. Those who went inside, masked up, and looked back on a year of restricted living.
But after 2 years of pandemic and lockdowns, we've had enough of all that.
There was more of all that though for Sydney's Hillsong Church, whose Christmas Day services were moved online.
It was the best thing to do. There's some sickness amongst our team.
But in Melbourne, Hillsong members celebrated being together.
Online is okay, but it's so good to be in the room. There's nothing like it.
Isolation's just never, the best feeling, and so it's incredible to just embrace one another.
In Adelaide, a message of thanks.
Every other pandemic has ended, but it's because of people working together, and we've had all these wonderful people doing research and things, that we will get through this.
And in sweltering heat in Perth, a call for kindness as WA tackles a growing COVID cluster.
Particularly, for example, on a day like today when the weather is so hot and people will be uncomfortable, it would be easy to lose our cool, to lose our patience with people.
Patience, a heavenly virtue we all pray won't be tested too much more before next Christmas. Brad Ryan, ABC News.
States and territories have reported record COVID-19 cases this Christmas as the Omicron variant takes hold. New South Wales, the ACT, Tasmania and Queensland have all reported their highest daily case numbers yet. Infections in New South Wales have tipped past 6,000 for the first time, while 2,108 new infections have emerged in Victoria. In Queensland, despite 765 new cases, there are no COVID patients in intensive care. South Australia has reported 634 infections, while in Western Australia, as you heard, the backpacker cluster has risen to 7 with 2 new infections. There are 33 new cases in Tasmania, 19 in the Northern Territory, and 142 cases in the ACT. As Australia accelerates its booster rollout to better protect against Omicron, there's growing concern for an outbreak in an aged care home in South Australia. 22 residents and 3 staff at the Benay Italian Village aged care home in Adelaide have now tested positive. 1 resident has been taken to hospital. The outbreak has prompted a critical staffing shortage at the site as workers are plunged into quarantine and paramedics called in to help treat those patients.
Last night, the ambulance service as well was, short at least 4 ambulances in the metropolitan area, and today we're down more staff as well.
The union says it's the first time paramedics have been called in to assist with nursing duties and say it's putting strain on an already stretched health system. Those living in aged care facilities around the country are beginning to receive their booster shots. Doses for about half of all residents have been made available, but at some facilities, residents will still be waiting for weeks. The peak body for residential aged care says the booster rollout is progressing much better than the administration of initial shots, but fears about Omicron are persisting.
COVID-19 has already been devastating in aged care homes. They're among the most high risk of sites. And as cases climb around the country, the threat of COVID remains.
And I've actually had people, CEOs ringing me in tears because of their concern about the rapid spread of Omicron and the staff pressures that they are under at the moment.
Vaccinating the vulnerable has been a pandemic priority for the federal and state governments, the elderly receiving their first, second, and now third jabs.
The rollout this time round is much, much better than it was at the beginning of the year.
We're approximately 300 facilities ahead of schedule. Over 1,500 have been vaccinated at this point in time.
That's about half of aged care homes around the country.
This is a big undertaking and it will take into January and probably February before most of the homes across Australia are reached.
Meaning for some people, it'll still be weeks before they receive a booster, which are proving more and more important with Omicron.
Tiny little jab.
So far, there's no publicised data about how many people within aged care facilities are triple vaccinated. But from the 4th of January, providers will need to give those figures to the government. That's not the only change coming. At residential aged care facilities in hard-hit COVID states, rapid antigen tests will be made accessible to staff and visitors in the new year. The industry has also updated its code so residents are always allowed to have at least one essential visitor, even during outbreaks. Evelyn Manfield, ABC News.
More than 400 Defence Force personnel are spending Christmas Day away from home on deployments across the country and the world. The past year saw an abrupt end to the 20-year mission to Afghanistan, but elsewhere the military has been kept busy. Here's Defence correspondent Andrew Green.
Only last month, Australia came to the aid of a Pacific friend in need. This Christmas, more than a dozen ADF personnel remain in Honiara, so they're sending best wishes back home to loved ones.
I'm currently deployed on Op Lilia in Solomon Islands. I'd like to wish my friends and family back in Australia a Merry Christmas.
I just want to wish my daughter a very Merry Christmas as I won't be home.
Can't wait to see you guys. Come home and spend some time together.
Just wishing all my friends and family back home in Australia a very Merry Christmas.
Just like to wish a very Merry Christmas to my wife and family back in Australia. Miss you all, see you soon.
Over the festive season, more than 430 men and women in uniform are deployed across Australia or overseas on military operations. For the first time in years, none are in Afghanistan, but many are still in the Middle East.
A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I miss you all and I love you.
I'll be home soon, so you better be there waiting.
Love you guys, miss you, and I'll see you when I get back.
I can't wait to see you. And I'm counting down the days, but it'll come around soon.
Not a day too soon. Andrew Green, ABC News.
With COVID-19 cases rising, many people may choose to do their Boxing Day shopping online. Clothing and shoes are the most commonly purchased items on the internet, and many fast fashion companies offer free returns. But those returns take an environmental toll.
This return is from an online shopper who bought 3 pairs of the same jeans.
So just to try the size and figure out what's right for them.
Consumers often do this, especially when there's free returns. Nobody Denim's marketing manager is concerned about the waste.
There's been a lot of talk about circularity and sustainability in fashion as a whole, but I do think the issue on waste and packaging kind of has been overlooked a little bit.
The company is phasing in compostable bags, but that is proving expensive.
It's coming up to around about 3 to 4 times the cost of our current packaging material. Just moving into a more sustainable, biodegradable product.
Australia has a code of conduct for businesses that want to reduce their reliance on all of this sort of packaging. There are dozens of fashion brands that are signed up to APOC, but it is just a voluntary code and there are many big names that are missing from the list.
The actual return clothes are usually resold, but if they're damaged, they're sent to charity or factory outlets like this one.
It's really important that they come back in the best condition possible, because otherwise they end up as seconds and often discounted and potentially wasted.
Nobody Denim has put sizing apps on its website, and it's urging people to be conscious ahead of Boxing Day sales.
Before getting click happy, I guess you need to think about, do you really need it? Do you know your size? Are you confident? Is this something that you will wear after the season?
She says if you can't answer those questions, maybe it's not such a great deal after all. Amelia Terzon, ABC News.
Regional pharmacists can find themselves on the front line when it comes to mental health. One chemist in the Northern Territory town of Humpty Doo is adored by older locals who often travel long distances just for a chat. He's worried about a lack of non-medicated options in the rural area for treating their mental health.
91-year-old Marg Rowley likes to paint and party, but her body has other ideas.
I like people around me. Like I like chatter and just to be involved, but my body's getting old and it's cranky, and that makes me mad.
Now that she's 91, visiting her local pharmacist has become one of her favourite social activities.
Oh, I love him to bits. We have a lot of fun here, and a lot of baloney. That I reckon I can beat him in the wheelchair in the chemist shop.
Absolutely makes her shine and makes her day. Yeah. And I'm sure that's why she wants to go out of her way to go and see him, just to get a bit of a pep up and feel a bit better about life.
Jung Tran chose to work in Humpty Doo's rural region where he grew up, despite opportunities elsewhere, so he could forge connections with people like Marg.
There's just something about Humpty Doo. I would say that we're a closely knit community. We all know each other.
Acts like delivering Marg's medication on his way home from work have been life-changing for her family.
If we didn't have the chemist here, I don't know what we'd do for her medical needs or her sanity, because as I say, she goes to visiting just for socialisation.
Recent studies in Australia and Canada have found non-medicated approaches to depression among older people, including meaningful social activities, can have better results than antidepressants alone. But Jung is worried people in the top end's rural areas don't have enough access to counselling or social activities to improve their mental health.
As the age increases, there's just more mental health related prescriptions being prescribed.
Marg has been on a tiny dose of antidepressants since her husband died almost 2 years ago. All agree a new community centre is one thing the region needs.
Bingo night, games nights, some fair, just something, just so all these elderly people, they can get together, they can get to know each other, maybe establish friendships.
Marg would love to meet more people her own age, but for now she's content with regular trips to the chemist. Felicity James, ABC News.
The Queen has paid tribute to Prince Philip in her annual Christmas message, saying this year especially she understands how Christmas can be hard for those who have lost loved ones. A photograph of the pair can be seen as the Queen remembered her late husband's irrepressible sense of service and his capacity to squeeze fun out of every situation.
That mischievous, inquiring twinkle was as bright at the end as when I first set eyes on him. And February, just 6 weeks from now, will see the start of my Platinum Jubilee year, which I hope will be an opportunity for people everywhere to enjoy a sense of togetherness, a chance to give thanks for the enormous changes of the last 70 years.
Prince Philip died in April, just 2 months before his 100th birthday. The Queen said his life's work has been taken on and amplified by Prince Charles and Prince Williams. And the Queen wasn't the only royal taking time out to share a holiday message. The Duchess of Cambridge spread some Christmas cheer by revealing a hidden musical talent. From Bethlehem to St. Peter's Basilica, the challenges were universal, celebrating the special day despite the risk of the pandemic.
The royal touch just for Christmas. The Duchess of Cambridge debuting her piano skills to the public during a special carol service.
She gave birth to her
Her husband
son,
took a more formal role.
wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger.
You know what your sister...
The Bidens filled in as Santa's helpers, taking calls for St. Nick's hotline.
He wants a horse.
A horse? Whoa.
At Bethlehem, the show went on. The town usually welcomes at least 3 million visitors during this time. A fraction of that this year, but enough to still feel festive at Manger Square, the traditional birthplace of Jesus.
Although there's a pandemic and things are hard, we just want to enjoy Christmas and spread joy around.
Meanwhile, churches took no chances. This congregation in Paris was greeted by their priest, as well as hand sanitizer.
I'm worried. It's very contagious.
The devoted and the daring gathered in Vatican City, all wishing for the same thing.
I hope for a return to normality, because this is not a life we can call normal.
Inside St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Francis spoke of humility.
We must contemplate what is central, beyond all the lights and decorations.
Although a fifth of its usual size, the 2,000 people inside were counting their blessings.
I think I'm lucky to get to see this, and especially during COVID.
But many won't reach their families this year. Nearly 4,000 Christmas Eve and day flights were cancelled across the world due to rising cases. Since flying may be a gamble, Santa is taking no risks. From swimming with sharks in Brazil to riding an elephant in Thailand, he'll still be coming to town. Nayan Kim, ABC News.
On the eve of the Boxing Day Ashes Test, Australia has made a shock selection to bolster its bowling ranks. Victorian paceman Scott Boland is set to make his dream home test debut at the MCG. The surprise addition and return of captain Pat Cummins are the only changes, with the tourists making 4 changes ahead of the must-win match.
It was all smiles for Australian captain Pat Cummins ahead of one of the biggest days on the Australian sporting calendar.
I'm feeling really good. 10 days off. Don't get that too often. It's good.
Cummins returns to the side following a COVID scare in Adelaide. Alongside him, Victorian paceman Scott Boland will make his debut. The 32-year-old will become Australia's 3rd debutant this Ashes series after Michael Neser and Alex Carey were handed their baggy greens this summer.
We'd kind of earmarked him as a chance for here in SCG in particular. We think he's really well suited, and just his record speaks for itself here in domestic cricket.
England have made 4 changes to their side in an effort to keep their Ashes campaign alive, including bringing in Zach Crawley and Johnny Bairstow.
I think everyone is very excited to be here, and I'm sure what will be a hostile environment, but one to be embraced and enjoyed. And we know that we need to bring our best cricket. We haven't brought that so far in the series, and that's disappointing. And the situation we find ourselves in, we need to get there fast.
The last time England won a Boxing Day test was more than a decade ago, back in 2010, which was also the last time the side won a series in Australia. History is not on England's side, though. The last team to come back from 2-0 down was Australia back in the 1930s. Fraser Fife, ABC News, Melbourne.
2 yachts have withdrawn from tomorrow's Sydney to Hobart race because of COVID-19. There have been 3 positive cases detected among the crew of Willow. Another yacht, Maverick 49, has also pulled out, with its owner telling organisers that while COVID-19 has not been detected in his crew, he's withdrawing because he doesn't want to take the risk. The race is due to begin on Sydney Harbour tomorrow afternoon. And while all eyes will be on the Super Maxis, a new category is shaping up as the toughest challenge yet.
Wendy Tuck is used to firsts. She became the first woman to win a Clipper round-the-world yacht race in 2018.
I think it's just a great day for sailing all around, a great day for women.
So this is how we normally are when
and was the first female skipper to finish the Sydney to Hobart the year before. In 2021, Tuck is one of the first two-handed entrants to challenge the Blue Water Classic.
It's such an iconic race, it's such a big challenge because you'll have so many different weather systems coming through. And then to just make it a little bit more challenging, we're only going with 2.
That means only 2 sailors navigating the 628 nautical mile voyage.
If you think of being on a wild bucking bronco with cold buckets of water getting thrown over you, and you've got to climb up onto the head of that bull, then down to the tail without falling off and hurting yourself, all whilst trying to sleep and trying to cook food to eat, that's probably the closest scenario.
It's an extreme test of physical, mental and sailing stamina.
You get so physically tired because every muscle is being used to hang on and brace yourself so you don't fall over and hurt yourself, because, you know, if we fall over and break an arm, we're out the race. So everything is harder. You know, even just going on the loo becomes a big job.
But in her 14th attempt at the gruelling voyage, Tuck is up for the challenge.
Wendy's done an awful lot of ocean racing. She's probably as experienced an ocean racer as you have in Australia. She's done 2 laps of the planet with the Clipper race, including obviously winning.
Two-handed sailing has surged in popularity around the world and has made the sport more accessible.
Compared to where we're racing a bigger boat, that was never an option for us. We're pretty average people with average jobs. We're not multimillionaires.
But this crew isn't settling for an average result on Boxing Day.
We've proved we can do well, so we know we can do well, and that's 90% of doing well, isn't it? Having faith in yourself, which I believe we both have now.
The Supermaxis usually complete the race in under 2 days, but for the 18 two-handed yachts, their finishing time will be much closer to the original boats that competed back in 1945, arriving in Hobart in around 4 to 6 days.
This year also marks 75 years of women competing in the iconic race. Chloe Hart, ABC News.
On the satellite, a broad trough is extending over northern Australia while a tropical low is developing to the northwest of Darwin, looking around the country for Sunday. Showers over eastern Queensland, very warm across the state. New South Wales, warm in the west, cool to mild in the east. Cloudy and cool in southern Victoria, windy and warm in the north. Turning to Tasmania, cool in the south, cloudy over the east. A windy day for South Australia, sunny and warm. The heat wave will continue for Western Australia, windy in the south and the northwest. And the Northern Territory will have a warm Sunday, a possible thunderstorm in the north. Looking ahead to Monday's forecast for the capital cities, Brisbane and Sydney, showers. Canberra, cloudy, mostly sunny in Melbourne. Clear skies for Hobart, bright in Adelaide, hot in Perth, and a possible thunderstorm for Darwin. That's the latest from ABC News. Remember, you can keep up to date at news.abc.net.au and on ABC iView. I'm Dan Borscher. Thanks for watching from all of us here at the ABC. We hope you have a great rest of your Christmas. Good night.
Merry Christmas. Coming up next, it's the Queen's Christmas message. Then the always spectacular Royal Variety Performance premieres.
Stream the best drama all summer long on ABC iView.
This is for us.
Always want to be famous one day.